Hey guys, what's up? This is Insanity. Got a gameplay in Modern Warfare 3, the original. First match is an okay game of sniping with the MSR, and the second is a game that gave me my best TDM score as of late by way of a hacker on our team who gleefully turned on the radar to have the enemy team exposed at all times. This is a glimpse into how Modern Warfare 3 on a PS3 still has hackers. Funnily enough, the main reason, if I had to come up with any, as to why I would not go out of my way to play Call of Duty on the PS3 again, is because I don't need another messed up PS3 controller, not because hackers exist. I mentioned previously that my first PS3 controller has stick drift, then my second controller started acting up and doing random button inputs, which really messes with me in general. And this, I think, only really happened when I played Call of Duty, which, requires you to push down the left analog stick to sprint. And because of that, navigating the menus on a PS3 home screen is like a severe case of fighting someone trying to wrestle the controller away from you. So I ended up buying a third PS3 controller, and I absolutely don't intend to play any game that requires me to push the L3 or R3 buttons on a controller for extended periods of time using it. If I need to, then I'll go back to using my second PS3 controller and fight the random button inputs for a while. The second controller still works and it doesn't have stick drift, it's just going to remain stupid for a while. Although my recent format change, if you will, has been live playthroughs of games that go about an hour or above, it's nice to come back to sane levels and upload simple commentary videos that usually aren't about more than 8 to 10 minutes at most. This commentary video is going to be a review of The Marvels, the last MCU movie for 2023, but not the last Marvel content drop, as Season 2 of What If will come out by Christmas time. Let's just get the review score out of the way first, as per usual. It's a 5 out of 10. One thing Marvel has consistently proven as of late is that they don't have the ability to execute movies with runtimes that are less than 2 hours, minus credits. They had movies in the past that weren't 2 hours with the credits discounted. Case in point, Iron Man 1. The Marvels really needed time to breathe for various reasons. Firstly, the villain was already a lost cause just by judging from the trailer, and come the action movie, even more so, because the villain barely has any screen time, is mostly shown in a sympathetic light, and her vendetta against Carol is only given the bare minimum. One of the complaints I had of Captain Marvel 1 is that Carol spends most of the movie as an amnesiac, which means she doesn't get much of a chance to show off her personality and character. It's when she interacts with characters like Nick Fury, little girl Monica, and Talos does she really shine and show that she isn't the stoic space warrior that Carol Danvers otherwise is. I think the Marvels help fix that now that she isn't a amnesiac. The moments of her interacting with Monica and Kamala were great. But again, the short runtime means that it's not too long before the plot goes back into overdrive. The whole movie is pretty lighthearted, although people have consistently thrown complaints at the MCU for not taking things seriously. I think more importantly, we end up missing out on some actual dramatic moments. There's one scene where the Kree decide to wreck these Skrull refugees' home after Carol comes onto the scene and the villain thinks that these Skrulls were negotiating in good faith because of that. And we get a sequence where Kamala, Monica, and Carol are evacuating the refugees, but there's not enough spaceships to evacuate all of them. Kamala is distraught at Carol for telling her to grab who we can, implying that she would be angry at Carol for not saving everyone they could. It could have been an interesting, quote-unquote, never meet your heroes type dilemma. Kamala is a huge Captain Marvel fangirl, and Monica looked up to Carol as a kid. There was potential for some drama there that could have been interesting, but especially Monica, she was shown to have some emotional baggage concerning Carol from WandaVision, specifically that Carol wasn't there for her when her mother passed away, despite both of them being close friends. In the end, Kamala's potential issue with Carol doesn't come up since she opts to fangirl Carol again when she finally does have the opportunity to speak to her. And Monica's potential issue with Carol gets resolved instantly the moment Carol tells her story about why she did not come back down to Earth. Carol realizing what a grave mistake she made when she destroys the Kree super AI and did not even consider the fallout and consequences that would arise from that was a good humanizing touch. Both Kamala and Monica could have been more well-rounded characters just by realizing that they put Carol on too high of a pedestal when Carol is just human despite her powers. The moments of character interactions the three share were fun. I just wish there were more of it. Also, the whole plot point about Carol not coming back down to Earth because she realized that she made a pretty short-sighted error in just simply destroying the Kree's main system, and then they get plunged into a civil war. That's like a whole movie that could have happened. We really needed to spend some time with Carol, because that's the other big issue with Captain Marvel. We just did not really get much of Carol in her own, in a scenario where she's on her own, and all the conflicts and story that arise from that. So that's another part of this movie, feeling like it's not really truly pushing Carol as a character, and it's more like, well, we kind of need to have a movie of Captain Marvel because we were sort of planning to have her as one of our main characters going forward in the MCU, but I guess there's not a lot of people who are interested, and there, besides all the people who hate Brie Larson for whatever reason. Like, I don't really understand that hate at all. I think Brie Larson, and I haven't even seen her in much stuff, but Brie Larson, I think, is a good actress. She can cry on command. She can certainly emote. And the only other role I've seen her in was in Scott Pilgrim, which I recently watched with a friend of mine, and that was a good movie. And I thought Brie Larson was fantastic on there. So I don't really understand why so many people have beef with her. But yeah, I think Marvel is getting cold feet, and especially even more so after this movie completely flopped at the box office. So not much hope for Carol going forward. So they probably have to Hulk her and make her a supporting character rather than a main character going forward in the MCU. But I understand people who also give the movie flack for basically, quote-unquote, requiring homework just to understand two of the characters that make up this makeshift girl team of sorts. But I thought the movie did a pretty good recap, with Kamala using the same Spider-Verse-esque art narration from the Ms. Marvel Disney Plus series. And for Monica, she just bluntly says that she got powers walking through something without boring on the details. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness was somewhat debatable as to whether it adequately gave the relevant information pertaining to Wanda and her turn in becoming the villain, but I think the Marvels did an adequate enough recap. I think the other problem with the movie is that while putting these characters of Captain Marvel to hover around her out did sort of make sense, it also again means that Carol herself doesn't get a chance to shine on her own. She is missing her own Winter Soldier or Thor Ragnarok type follow-up. There are people who accuse Captain Marvel 1 as being a movie that was just piggybacking off the momentum from Infinity War going into Endgame, and their accusations seem validated given how poorly the Marvels has done. So I think Carol really needed her follow-up appearance in a full movie of her own to actually focus on her, and some parts of the Marvels felt like they were more continuations of the Ms. Marvel show, siphoning away screen time from Carol and making her feel like a plot device. The credit scene even vaguely suggests a downplaying of Carol's overall importance to the MCU, as we have yet another variant of the Captain Marvel identity and it's used by someone else. I remember the days of when Kevin Feige declared that Captain Marvel would be one of the main players going forward. Then he announced the Multiverse saga slate, and I looked at all the projects announced and thought, is it me, or do I not see any indication of how Captain Marvel could exactly be an important character from this? Were those just buzzwords to hype up Captain Marvel, Kevin Feige? Did you actually mean to swallow your words and don't really believe what you're saying about Captain Marvel? So the too long didn't read version of my negatives for this movie is, it's too short, it does not have enough character interactions thanks to the plot being on overdrive. It's not so much that there are too many characters as it is just too many that Carol has to either share screen time or siphon screen time away from her when her second full-fledged movie appearance should have focused entirely on her, and a weak villain. What did I like? I already mentioned Kamala's Spider-Verse-esque art narration recap, but there was also the action scenes that were fun and creative thanks to the constant position swaps whenever they used powers, leading to fun team-up attacks against the villain, which I wish the MCU had more of. The music planet was cringeworthy. but I thought it was cringeworthy in a fun way. It was probably the most lively part of the movie and totally out of the blue. And also the scenes of the Flurkins swallowing up people as a means of saving them, and what would normally play out as a horror scene in another movie was downright hysterical. And I actually like Nick Fury here, which was surprising after Secret Invasion. I've accepted Winter Soldier Nick Fury to be the last time I'll ever see a badass Nick Fury. His appearances post-Winter Soldier have generally been grumpy grandpa chaperoning some unruly kids, but here he's a pretty chill and cool grandpa. Right now, there really isn't much reason for him to be around at this point, and he hasn't had much relevance to the overall MCU story. So if this is the last appearance of at least the live-action Nick Fury, I wouldn't mind. Note that this is with me deliberately ignoring his appearance in Secret Invasion, which, 1, was an absolute dumpster fire of a series, and 2, the Marvel seemingly ignores or doesn't even acknowledge certain aspects of it. So it's easy for me to go and pretend that Secret Invasion isn't canon. Overall, this movie, I don't think it's bad per se, it just feels obligatory in a sense, which is really not what Captain Marvel needs. If Marvel intended to make her feel like a key player in a post-Endgame world with Tony and Steve gone, they really needed to make her second appearance in the movie actually give her character relevance. Apart from an origin story, the times that Carol appeared had generally been cameos, and she wasn't given a chance to play much of a role in Endgame when that movie was intended to focus on the original Avengers. So being a brief Deus Ex Machina was the last impression that viewers are going to get from her, and that really does not help with her reputation. I hope that the next time these characters appear, then maybe people can finally change their minds on them. But that's the gameplay and commentary. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and Insanity is out.
Later! Oh boy.